In the last video, we discussed about process control block. There we have seen process control block keeps track of the current state of the process. From the point of creation to the point of completion, a process can pass through various possible states. In this video, we shall discuss which all are the possible process states. The programs to be executed are first kept in the secondary memory. In order to execute a program, we should load it to the main memory. So once it is decided to load a program to the main memory, or once a process is about to be created, we can say we have got a new process. We have a process in the new state. Actually, this is now a program residing in the secondary memory. Anyway, we can call it a new process. And once the process is created, it moves from this new state to the ready state. Means this process is now ready to execute and it is waiting for the processor. In multi-programming and multitasking environment, we can have multiple ready processes in the main memory. The ready processes are waiting for the processor, and we can allocate the processor to one of these ready processes at a time. The process to which the processor is allocated moves from the ready state to the running state. Means the process is having the processor, it is running or it is being executed. So it is in the running state, and once the execution is over, it moves from the running state to the termination state or completion state. So every process passes through these four states minimum. In the very beginning, it will be in the new state, and once the process is created, it moves to the ready state, and once it is allocated with the processor, it moves to the running state, and once the execution is over, it moves to the termination state or completion state. Thus every process passes through minimum these four states. And we can see a new process is actually a program residing in the secondary memory. A ready process is a process in the main memory waiting for the processor. A running process is a process in the main memory which is allocated with the processor. And a terminated process, for a terminated process, the space allocated to it, PCB, everything will be deleted from the main memory. Now consider a scenario. A process P3 is being executed. So process P3 is in the running state now, and now it needs to execute an IO operation. Assume that it needs to access the disk. So when a process is moving to IO, the processor will be idle. So we can allocate the processor to some other ready process. So this process moving to IO will leave the CPU and make a transition from this running state to the block state, waiting for IO operation. Now the processor is free, it can be allocated to some ready process, and that process can move from the ready state to the running state. So from the running state, in case of some IO request, there is chance for a transition to the block state. And when the block is over, when the IO operation is completed, to which state this process should move? Earlier it was in the running state. Can it move directly to the running state? No, because some other process may be already running. So this process should move back to the ready state, showing that the IO operation is completed, block is over, now I am ready to execute. When processor is allocated, it can run. So the block process move back to the ready state. From the ready state later it can move to the running state when processor is allocated. So a process in the block state will be in the main memory waiting for IO operation. Now consider another scenario. A process P1 is being executed. So P1 is in a running state, and now we have got a high priority process P2 in the main memory which is ready to execute. So when there is a high priority process ready to execute, we should allocate the processor to that high priority process. So CPU will be preempted from the running process, and the running process moves from the running state to the ready state, showing that this process is ready to execute even now, but the processor is not free. The processor is now allocated to the high priority process, and that process can move from ready state to the running state. So from the running state, due to some priority issues, there is chance for a transition to the ready state. Also, in a multitasking environment, the processor keeps on switching between the processes within regular time interval. So a process will be running. When the time slice expires, that process moves from the running state to the ready state and will wait in the main memory. Now suppose this is the current situation. A process P2 is being executed and we have got three ready processes P1 and P3 waiting for the processor. And assume that now the main memory is completely occupied. There is no more space in the main memory and we have got a very high priority process P4 in the secondary memory, a new high priority process P4. But there is no space for P4 in the main memory now. So among the ready processes, we should choose one process and keep it back in the secondary memory. So that process will move from the ready state in the main memory to the suspend ready state in the secondary memory, showing that this process is suspended from the ready state in main memory. Now we have space for P4 in the main memory. So from the ready state, if it is suspended, there is chance for a transition to suspend ready state. And when suspension is over, that is, when there is enough space for the process in the main memory, it will move back to the previous ready state in the main memory. So a suspend ready process will be residing in the secondary memory. A ready process will be residing in the main memory, and a process who is suspended from the ready state will be in the suspend ready state in the secondary memory. When it is no longer suspended, when there is space in the main memory, it can come back to the ready state in the main memory. So in the last case, we suspended a ready process from the main memory. Now suppose this is the current scenario. A process is being executed. One process is in the ready state waiting for the processor and another process in the block state executing I/O operation. And suppose a new high priority process P4 arrived in the secondary memory and main memory space is full. In order to make space for the high priority process, we should swap out one process from the main memory. Now, instead of choosing this ready process, instead of suspending the ready process, it is better to suspend this block process because a ready process is already in need of CPU. It is waiting for the processor, but a block process is executing I/O. It doesn't need CPU now. It can execute I/O even by sitting in the secondary memory. So it is better to swap out this block process. So we can suspend this block process from the main memory. Then this process moves from the block state in main memory to suspend block state in the secondary memory, showing that the process is suspended from the block state in the main memory. It will continue with the I/O activity by being suspended, by being in the secondary memory. Now we have space for the high priority process. We brought P4 to main memory. So from the block state, if the process is suspended, there is chance for a transition to suspend block state. Then when there is enough space in the main memory, we can bring back this process to the main memory. Suppose the block is not over, means the I/O activity is not over, but now there is enough space in the main memory for this process. Then we can bring back this process to the main memory. So the process will come back to the block state in main memory. Now I/O activity is not over. The process is still blocked, but the suspension is over. There is enough space in the main memory. So come back to the block state in the main memory. Otherwise, suppose the process is now in the suspend block state. It is suspended from the block state in the main memory. It is continuing with the IO activity. Now suppose the IO activity is over. But even now there is no space in the main memory. So this process will remain suspended, but the block is over. Hence it moves from the suspend block state to the suspend ready state. Means IO activity is completed, block is over, the process is now ready to execute, but it is still suspended. There is no space for the process in the main memory. So in that case, the process moves from the suspend block state to the suspend ready state. And later, when there is enough space in the main memory, it can come back to the ready state in main memory. So from the ready state, when the process is suspended, there is chance for a transition to suspend ready state. And when there is enough space in the main memory, the process can come back to the ready state in the main memory. And instead of choosing a ready process, it is always better to suspend a block process. So from a block state, if it is suspended, it moves to the suspend block state. When it is no longer suspended, when there is enough space in the main memory and the IO activity is not over, the process will come back to the block state in the main memory. But if the IO activity is over, but there is no space in the main memory, then the process moves from the suspend block state to suspend ready state. So the suspend ready state process and suspend block state process are residing in the secondary memory. The suspended processes are residing in the secondary memory. A new process is in the form of a program in the secondary memory. A ready process, running process and block process are all in the main memory. The suspended processes are in the secondary memory. And for a terminated process, the PCB space allocated everything will be deleted from the main memory. So all these are the possible states of the process, and this is the state transition diagram. So PCB keeps track of the current state of the process. If a process is running, the process state will be saved as running. If a process is in the ready state, the process state will be saved as ready.